All right, everyone. Thank you for joining the Silent So Loud podcast. In a few minutes, we're going to have a very special guest, DJ Tice, join the show. But first, let's dive into the Tampa Bay Bucks. They won a game. They snapped that losing streak. Let's talk about the NFC South a little bit. The Bucks are not in first place, but they're right there on the Saints. Um, they're looking like, in my opinion, not a great football team, not a bad football team, just kind of like a in the middle football team. I don't know if you listened to our NFL predictions a while back. I said I thought the Bucks would win probably 9 games, maybe 8 games, finish out 9-8, 8-9. I know there were talks all week before this game about get rid of Todd Bowles and make the switch of Baker to Kyle Trask. I still think that both of those are kind of early. I would say Todd Bowles is, they'd say the coach is in the hot seat. I say that he's still in the hot seat. He kind of put it out a little bit after this win. Um, as far as making the switch from Baker to Kyle, never kind of agreed with that because I think that Baker, once again, not a great quarterback, but has been an efficient quarterback. The defense definitely looked better this week. They got a big game coming up against the 49ers. So we'll see how they do there. I know a lot of people are predicting that they're going to get blown out of the water. So we'll see how that plays out. But if you look at their schedule, yeah, there's some challenges coming up, and there's a lot of division games that are coming up on the schedule. So I still believe, and maybe I'm being biased, but I still believe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can win the division. I think they can win the division. Do I think they're going to go far in the playoffs? No, I do not. I think it's going to be a repeat of last year where they won the division 8-9. Cowboys come to town, they get blown out. I think that we're looking at the same thing to a certain extent. Hopefully, I'm wrong, but I think that they could fight to win the division, and then after that, we'll see what happens. I think the strong teams in the NFC. I got Philly right on top. I think that Detroit's right there. My buddy Antonio predicted that he thinks Detroit and Philly are going to be the two teams on top. I could definitely see that. I think the Cowboys are looking good, but then again, I think that they played to their opponent. They blew the Giants away, but then they had that loss to the Eagles. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's enough football. Like I said, we have a very special guest coming on, DJ Tice. So stick around and he'll be on here in a little bit. All right, everyone. The holidays are coming. Christmas is right around the corner. And a great place to stop and shop at is the Bunker Depot in Sefton, Florida. That's the Bunker Depot located at 2004 South Parsons Avenue in Sefton, Florida. They have rifles, handguns, shotguns, optics, ammo, eye, ear, and body protection. They want to educate, train, equip. A prepared community is a safe community. So check out the Bunker Depot. Their phone number is 813-816-2685. And tell you what, I talked to my friend Jason Buck at the Bunker Depot. If you share this podcast or if you share the Bunker Depot in social media or whatever avenue, we're going to put you in a raffle for a free box of 9mm ammo. That's a free box of 9mm ammo. So once again, check out the Bunker Depot located in Sefton, Florida. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining the Silence So Loud podcast. I hope everyone out there is doing wonderful. Today we have a very special guest. We're going to have DJ Big Red Tice call into the show. And as a matter of fact, we're just going to dive right into it and call him right now. DJ, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing, brother? I'm doing good.
You're doing good? So,
Yes, sir.
all right, we got you on the podcast right now, man. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir, brother. No problem.
Uh,
Love to
so where do,
see
where
what
do,
content be.
where do I begin with you? So, um, you wrestled back a couple years ago for Strawberry Crest, correct?
Yes, sir. I wrestled for 3 years or for 2 years for Plant City High School, and then we had a head coach change, and they didn't know what was going on with that, and I already had some offers, so I ended up transferring over to Strawberry Crest, where they had a pretty solid program.
Right. And when you wrestled there, because this is like everybody kind of knows everybody out here. I remember people were like, there's a guy wrestling at Strawberry Crest, and he kind of resembles Brock Lesnar. And if you go to see him wrestle, he puts people away quick. So you better better get there. So how did that feel like wrestling in high school? Like just everybody talking like that. Like I remember that.
It was honestly crazy because before wrestling, I had played football my whole life, but I never really had the size for, especially getting into high school. I topped out at like 5'10", 5'11", and everybody else kept growing. So I knew I wasn't gonna make it to college on football, and then I really took off in wrestling. It was just a natural ability, and then whenever I just decided to push myself and push the envelope, see how far I could take it. I ended up taking it pretty far. I placed in Super 32 in the Nationals in the top 10. I placed a few times at Disney Duels at the ESPN Wide World of Sports.
Wow.
And,
Yeah. And then you wrestled in college, correct?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I wrestled at Life University in Marietta, Georgia,
Oh,
and
wow.
ended up coming back and taking on two kids. I'm in the midst of adopting two children right now.
Oh man, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you,
Yeah,
brother. I
that's
appreciate it.
cool. Yeah. So you wrestled in college, wrestled in Georgia, came back here, and then you said, "Okay, I'm gonna dive into like the like wrestling," or you got into you tell me what
I
you did then.
I knew I knew that because I grew up watching Kimbo Slice a lot, and I knew that there was money to be made in fighting, and it was really evolving. It wasn't as much of backyard fights for some money anymore, and I knew my wrestling would transfer over really well. So I went to an MMA gym and I started training. And well, at first I came back from college and I just started working to
Uh-huh.
try to get the bills paid, and I was slinging concrete all day
Right.
for looking back now it was dumb, but I was doing it for $100 a day, and we were busting like 12, 14 hour days. So I was really doing myself for, you know,
Yeah.
less than $10 an hour.
Hey,
But
you're a hard worker though, man. You know?
yes, sir,
So,
got to. I got a switch. Whenever I turn on, I turn on.
yeah.
But I started training at an MMA gym, and within I think it was about 3 weeks, I picked up a fight, and it was supposed to be for November 2nd
Mhm.
of 2019, 2020, something like that. And I ended up 2 weeks before the fight was supposed to happen. It was like a Wednesday. We got a call for a last minute fight on the Saturday, like November 2nd. I was supposed to fight already on November 8th. So I took the fight for November 2nd and went down to Cape Coral and knocked the guy out pretty clean. It was I I hit him a couple times and then relied on my wrestling because he just started running away. So he turned his back to me and faced the fence, and I ended up doing a full belly to back suplex right on his head. And
Wow.
whenever I jumped up, he was tapping on the ground and he was crying. Basically, he was like, "I'm done, I'm done." And
Yeah, all
I
your
felt
fights
so
kinda seem
bad
like
for
they
that
work out
guy,
that way.
man. I
So
did. I felt terrible.
so, like, as far as, like, the wrestling, have you ever thought about, like, going that path? Like, did you ever think, I know they have, like, the NXT out here in Florida. Have you ever thought, like, "Let me go that avenue," or are you sticking with, like, what you're doing now? Like, or
Yeah,
you
I've never. I talked with another podcast guys about because the guy that I was talking to, he was an ex pro wrestler and such and such, and I don't know that I could bring myself to fake it.
Yeah.
I get too much in the moment, and I'm very competitive. So I think if I were to like have to fake losing to somebody, I don't know that I could do that.
Yeah, the whole, like, sports entertainment aspect where,
Yeah,
you're
which is
putting
kind of
on.
scary because the UFC just joined with the owner of the UFC is owner of the WWE now, and it's kind of like a blurred line situation.
Yeah, that's cool that you mentioned that because I was gonna ask you that. What do you think about that merger? You think it's gonna become kinda, like, too political, like, too big of a machine for fighters to really
I
go
think
far?
I think it has the possibility of going that way. Hopefully, old Dana sticks to his guns and doesn't go the showman route about it and try to get all this extra hoopla whenever there's plenty to be seen. People love to see guys go in there and square up, so there's no need to actually go and put all the extra sports entertainment into it.
Right. Yeah, because when I read about it, I'm like, I don't know how that's gonna work because you got Dana, you got Vince, like two big egos, kind of like merging into
Exactly.
one.
Well, I mean, if you look at this past show, this past weekend, UFC was it 295?
Uh huh.
It
Yeah.
was a huge card, and none of those guys on that card were like big shit talkers or like people that are, none of them are Conor McGregor, and they
Right.
still sold a lot of shows because they're good fighters. People want to see good fighters go to war.
Right. Right. Now I was kind of watching your fights on YouTube, trying to get a gist of where you're at. You recently did, I think your last fight fought for Valor Bare Knuckle. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
That was so I signed up, and I watched your fight. That was really cool. Like I know you know more about this than I do, but I thought that was really cool how it was just bare knuckle fighting,
Yeah,
different.
it's completely different. Ken Shamrock made sure to find a way for himself to stand out in the fight game. Between we're fighting in a pit with no ropes, no cages whatsoever. It's a small pit, so you got to keep constant action. They went over the rules in the back and made sure that we knew that there's no clinching whatsoever. So anytime somebody steps in and tries to clinch, just keep firing off shots until the ref steps in to separate you, because they don't do any clinching or any kind of dirty boxing. It's literally straight hands.
Right. That's what I was gonna ask you. Like, how are the rules different? Like, there's no getting on the ground, none of that, right? It's just
Yeah, no, it's like the BKFC, except for the BKFC has the ropes, and the BKFC lets you tape your hands. So Valor doesn't do any tape whatsoever. We can only tape our wrists for the colors.
now. Was that the first time you've ever done that bare knuckle style?
Yeah, that was the first time I've ever done it, and I'll be honest with you, I was really nervous just because I fought plenty of people out on the street, Joe Schmo,
Right.
but being me fighting somebody else that's trained, I automatically assume that they're just as good as I am. And so, being as good as I am or as good as any trained professional fighting bare knuckle, it's dangerous. Anybody can get their lights turned out quick.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is like, man, that would be definitely like some major mental prep. But my phone took me down a path that was saying, there's an article I read actually today after I was watching it, and it was saying that some people were saying that bare knuckle, that in a way you could possibly have less concussions because
Yeah.
you're hitting bare
The
knuckle.
doctors
Right.
the doctors, whenever we were out in the back, they were talking about how it is in a way safer, because this is why. Oh, one second, there's a helicopter flying over.
All right.
But they say that the reason why most boxers have like the most brain injuries or trauma or anything like that is because the cushion in the gloves, the head is constantly bouncing around instead of actually like putting your lights out easier. With bare knuckle or even MMA, you have so many more chances of being put out of the fight between getting cut, a bad cut,
Hmm.
or getting, actually knocked out. There's just so much more of that, like pushing
Right.
you and rocking you,
Uh
but
huh.
not knocking you to where you can't fight anymore in boxing. And that's where people cross the line because they don't realize, how bad their brains actually messed up.
Right. Now, did you get a chance to meet Kim Shamrock? Did he go around talk to the fighters, or kind
Yeah,
of?
yeah, he was actually super personable, which is awesome. Because me, I didn't know the whole. I know there's a Ken Shamrock's like a superstar, but up until the point of like I had just seen him fight a couple times because I'm young, man. I was born in '99, so
Yeah.
uh, he wasn't on the level of like superstars as like whenever my dad found out I got the call for Ken Shamrock because I got it on 3 days notice, and
Yeah.
we just on the spot decided, all right, we're gonna take the fight. We're driving up to Jacksonville, and
Yeah.
whenever my dad found out, he was ecstatic. Everybody else was ecstatic, and I was just ready to go, ready to bang.
Yeah, I was ecstatic. I was like, "Wow, Ken Shamrock's running that?" I mean, I'm more middle aged. I'm not young like you, and I was like, "Wow!" Like he was a big deal, back whenever he was in his prime. I mean, a big deal on
Yeah, the
wrestling.
greatest man in the world is what they called him, man. He's a really great guy too. And just being able to hang out with him, and we chopped it up a few times before the fights, after the fights, at the hotel. He's just like I said, so personable. You can just hang out with him, and he's a stand up guy. He's got good morals.
Now, a couple other fights I watched you. I saw your fight. You did some with Combat Quest. I saw you fought a guy Tyler, and then you fought a guy Reynolds, and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
brutal, brutal, brutal wins, man. Like the guy Reynolds, the first round, I'm like, just stay down, and he got back up. Like I saw he beat the count, but I'm like, man, I know where this is headed. I didn't look at the results. I didn't cheat. I was like, let me just check out his fights, right? And you put him down, and I guess he beat the count, right? And then the ref's like, you good to go. He didn't look like he's good to go, but but then he
Hey
stayed in
man,
there.
he had. I would say Robert had the heart, brother. He was, and he's. I think he's from Plant City as well. So, them Plant City boys, they got the heart in him. Even after he got rocked, he was still willing to get up and take some more.
Oh, kudos to him, man, because I would have just stayed down. I would have been like, all right, I'm good, right? I
Yeah,
would
brother.
I would have just stayed down, but
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Tyler fight and the Robert fight because well, a couple things. Robert's a good guy. He ended up we ended up becoming talking after the fight and becoming acquaintances, and he ended up sponsoring me as far as like before I took my pro steps because he's got a gutter business himself. So
oh,
uh,
sweet.
yeah, really a stand up guy, and he actually reached out to me. He's looking to take on another fight, and he reached out to me to work with him for this fight. So I told him I'd work with him and help him get his hands right because you know everybody's got a dream, man.
Well, you can tell with your fights, man, you're a respectable guy because like you're like a light switch. Like you can tell that you're in the zone, right? When you're walking. But as soon as you get that win, like I could tell like you celebrate it, but then you kind of immediately think about that opponent, you
Yeah.
know? Tell me what goes through your mind whenever that's going on because I can tell you're like celebrating it, but then in a way you want to lift that opponent up. That's just my take on it. That
Yeah.
that you were like, I
Well,
want to
brother,
lift them up too.
I was before I ever got into any combat sports or wrestling or any of that other stuff, I was a kid that wasn't, very popular or got picked on and stuff like that. And that's what kind of got me into the sports was I was like, all right, well, we'll see if I get picked on whenever I get big or whenever I learn how to wrestle,
Hmm.
we'll see who wants something then.
Hmm.
And I don't ever I have a super big soft spot for, like I was overweight and I had a lot of other things going on, but I have a super soft spot for people that are trying and want to keep the ball rolling, and I don't ever want to be somebody that like discourages them or makes them quit for any reason. I know some guys that fight pride themselves on that. I don't really understand that. Whenever at the end of the day, everybody's a fighter, and we're all one percenters. Anybody that steps in a cage or a ring is a one percenter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're on that different level that most people are never even going to go there, you know? And I noticed too, like on your bare knuckle fight, you use Oliver Anthony as your intro music. And I thought that was pretty cool. Kind of like it reminds me of like the character that you seem to have. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah,
So
I love that song, brother, and it really speaks to me, and I'm sure it speaks to thousands and maybe millions of other Americans that are feeling it right now because as you can see, the times that we're in right now, they're kind of upside down, and we really need to get back to our roots and what we know. And
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Oliver Anthony really came out and set the tone with that one. So I think I'm gonna walk out to that song every time now, and I'd love to just represent him and what he stands for because I'd really enjoy his what he stands for and his moral.
Yeah, he's actually I don't know if you've seen it already, he's coming to the Strawberry Festival.
Yeah, man. And you know what's even crazier about that is I know Valor was talking to me about possibly fighting in California on December 8th, but
Uh-huh.
they said if I don't do that, they're gonna try and bring it back to Tampa, possibly at the Florida State Fairgrounds, and I'm gonna try and pack the house in March.
Oh,
And if we
wow.
can get that, and if we can get that in March, Oliver's supposed to be at the Strawberry Festival early March. So, God willing, we can possibly figure something out where he could come to the fight, and you know,
Oh, man, that would be awesome. That
that
would
would,
be
yeah, in my mind, dude, that would be incredible.
yeah, yeah, you gotta get hooked up, man, and he seems like the type that would totally be like, "Yeah, I'll go to the fight," you know? Like,
Yeah,
he's like I know he's turning down big endorsements because 'cause he's got his values, you know what I mean? Like, I saw, like, he turned down a big supposedly he turned down, like, a big Target deal because he's like, I'm not selling out," like, so he's keeping his character intact, and that's
that's
very
good,
commendable,
man.
man.
Yeah, dude, that's great. There's something special about a small town Southern man, and I don't think the rest of the world understands as much as the people that are actually small town Southern men. But
Well, what
that's
well, go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say that's what the world needs more of is actual small town Southern men that stand by the code and don't fold on any little pressure or just because somebody's got their feelings hurt.
Well, when I heard that song, I knew immediately, like, this is gonna be big. Like, I heard it early, and I'm like, "This song's gonna just blow up." It's like he kinda
Yeah.
felt that it's like, I don't know how he got so in touch with, like, how a lot of, like, men are feeling, like, just that the way the thought process, like, it was like he just kinda
Hmm.
put it all out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, "This is gonna be big." Like, you hear it
Yeah, and
once.
every bit of the song too, even the second verse, whenever he'd come in and talk about the the politicians with the kids on an island or with minors on an island,
Right.
yeah, that's real too. And there's so many people that are still trying to act like that's not real, but we have yet to see Epstein's list for real or
Yeah,
any
just
act come
yeah,
from
just
that.
sweep it under the rug, and it's they always say it's old news, right? Like,
No news every week. There's some new news and no new news about the case.
yeah, yeah. So, and as far as like you were talking about, you mentioned about when you were a kid, you said you kind of got bullied, and you felt like that, you were kind of a big kid. But I saw my wife brought it to my attention. You trimmed down, like you trimmed down recently. Like,
Yeah,
was that something
yeah,
that you
yeah.
were like I need to do this for fighting? Like, how did that come about?
Well, I've always had the goal of cutting up, and I've never, I was always whenever I was in heavyweight, I enjoyed being the. It was always like David versus Goliath. Everybody I fought was monstrous in size compared to me, and I enjoyed going out there and being the one to cut them down a notch, or show them that the underdogs get the W.
Hmm.
And but it always has been a goal of mine to cut down, and I didn't realize how big I had gotten until I was walking around about 285, and so I was like, all right, well, let me just start trimming up so I don't have to cut weight, because I was walking around about 285 and then cutting down to 265 for the fights,
Hmm.
and it was just kind of ridiculous. I knew I had a 5'10", 5'11" frame, and I don't have enough muscle mass to be toting 585 or 285. I'm a big guy, but I ain't that big. So
Yeah.
I started dropping some weight, and after I dropped about 20 or it's about 40 pounds, I got down to walking around about 240, and I thought I was comfortable there. There wasn't much more weight to lose, but then I started intermediate fasting with all natural beef and pork. We have a farm at my house, and
Uh
we
huh.
farm our own beef and pork, and we just started our own meat chickens, but we've been doing our own eggs and everything like that for a while now. So I started intermediate fasting and getting away from store bought meat. And my mom makes all natural juices. So between those and intermediate fasting, I lost another 30 pounds. So I'm walking around about 215 and fighting at 205. And I feel really good, but I got about probably another 10, 15 pounds of fat on me. I would like to cut up some more and maybe bulk and walk around about 220 and have less body fat and cut down to 205 or possibly go down to 185.
Now, how does that work? Like the weight classes, like does the bare knuckle, like do they like if you went down like below 200 or something, do you start fighting like a different weight class or? How does that work?
So with Valor uses boxing weight classes, and then like I don't know what BKFC uses, if they use boxing weight classes or not, but I know MMA weight classes are 170, 185, 205, and then heavyweight. And I think boxing weight classes they have a heavyweight, a 225, a 200, a 190, I think, or 185 possibly,
Yeah.
and then a 175. I'm not too sure on the boxing weight class, but I'd have to look into it. But I'll probably be fighting around the 200 range.
Now, do you feel like since you know you trimmed that weight, do you feel like the power? Because I mean, I didn't see the difference at all on power. You know, a lot of guys like they're like, oh, you know, when you start trimming down, you lose some strength. You know, did you feel that at all, or did you actually feel the opposite and feel stronger at that weight, like some more behind your punches?
I would say I don't know if I lost any power, but if I did lose any physical like muscle strength in like the feeling of the blow, I definitely gained it back in speed because I could feel my arm movement and my upper body movement is reacting a lot better than it did, and even my reaction time itself. Like, I fought that fight, and we probably fought for 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes bare knuckle, and I don't clean shot on the face time.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you calling in, man. You've been awesome, and I hope all that works out with the whole Oliver Anthony and everything. Do you have a fight lined up right now, or are you kind of just seeing
As of
what's?
right, Valor said they're looking to get me in there for multiple fights. So if we don't figure something out as far as March or even California in December,
Uh
I would
huh.
have to. Uh,
Yeah.
I'd have to be looking into Kai. I like Game Bread too, the Jorge Masvidal promotion. So I'd be looking into them because I've already done the bare knuckle boxing. They do bare knuckle MMA, so I have the wrestling background. It would probably be more my alley anyway.
Right. Well, that sounds cool, man. And like I said, I thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. We're behind you. We support you, and I enjoy watching your fights, man.
Yes, sir, brother. I appreciate y'all, man. Thank y'all for the support. I appreciate every bit I can get.
All right, man. We'll keep in touch, and best of luck. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
I appreciate it.